It's Spoilerin time, folks. This is the companion show to Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we talk about what are the services? How do we get this stuff? What's a Fire TV Cube? Then we come over here and we talk about what to watch. What have we watched? And we spoil the crap out of it. This week, we're going to talk about She-Hulk Season 1, Episode 7, Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 5, and Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 6. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, man, I'm so glad you brought it up, because what is a fire cube?
That's the other show, Brian. We don't talk about that.
What I meant to say is, let's bring in Lamar Wilson.
I am a fire cube. All right, yeah.
Speaking of fire, Lamar Wilson is fire. Let's start with Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 3, Episode 6. Hear all, trust nothing. Lamar, tell us why Star Trek Lower Decks is, for you, the best of all Star Treks.
It is not the best of all Star Treks for me.
Okay. All right.
But I really but I don't look at Lower Decks as a cartoon. That's that because that kind of denigrates to me like what it truly is. Like Lower Decks has a fantastic writing department and has the people they're able to bring in, like in this particular series, bringing in people from DS9. It's just incredible that they're able to do that and have that kind of pull on a story. And it's Lower Decks has always been intriguing to me to talk about people we've never talked about in Star Trek. The ground workers and who make everything work. So I love the series so much. I was a little behind on this one, and over the weekend I caught up because I was like, oh my god, I think I forget. They came out like 5 weeks ago, so I'm all caught up, and watching them back to back to back has been even funnier. So I'll let you all starting off talking about this, this episode.
And Lamar, I think one of the best pieces of advice I gave to my friend who's a comedian, and he was introduced to Lower Decks as the Star Trek comedy, and he watched one episode and was like, not for me. And I was like, oh, no, you're not watching it right. Yes, they marketed it that way, but what it is it's just the next season of The Next Generation, only all the characters are self-aware. And they're familiar with the tropes of the Star Trek universe. So in this case, we progress on, much like we did, leaving The Next Generation, going on to Deep Space Nine, and we actually go to Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I loved this episode because I really enjoy Deep Space Nine. I just finished a rewatch of it a couple of years ago, so it was pretty fresh in my mind. They make fun of the opening of Deep Space Nine, where the ship just for no reason seems to orbit around the space station. They brought on Nana Visitor, who played Major / Colonel Kira. They brought on Armin Shimmerman. I waited to see in the credits to make sure to voice Quark, and they were exactly what you're talking about, Brian. They were self-aware about things about Deep Space Nine. Morn was sitting at the bar when they first walked into Quark's. They talked about that. I love the fact that they're like, do they have a Quark's there? They're like, not only do they have the Quark's, but it's the original. And the rest of us watching, we're like, well, of course it's the original. It was the only one when we watched Deep Space Nine. I'm very curious, Bryce Castillo, how this episode that I enjoyed so much and laughed out loud so many times because of the references to Deep Space Nine played for you, who has not seen any other episodes of Star Trek outside of Lower Decks.
I didn't really like this episode. If I remember about it.
If we're deconstructing, we've got an A plot and a B plot. The A plot is something Deep Space Nine, peace treaty. They figure out that Quark ripped off
Cerritos
technology.
gets a last minute assignment to have to do the peace treaty, right? And has to scramble to figure it out.
And then the B plot is Mariner's girlfriend takes her to
meet her friends.
Woo woo goop party or whatever, and she doesn't really dig it.
And all of that just felt bad. The Mariner stuff was very a C-grade sitcom level of a plot, and then the like the quirk stuff, I don't know. Deep State, I don't know, man. Like it was a tough script to get through. I will say.
Will you at least give a check mark to Tendi embracing her pirate role, and actually taking over the ship like a badass? Because I thought that was a pretty good sequence.
That was good. I like the Tendi stuff. That was a great like callback to the last time we went and saw the Iranian, her and her people, the pirate planet. I thought that was great. I liked that. But that was
that was it.
That was the end of another story. So, what about you, Lamar?
I have a confession. I told Tom this, but thank you for keeping it quiet, Tom. I have not actually finished Deep Space Nine.
Neither did I. That's fine.
I think I stopped it around 4 or so, but I told him my reason. Voyager was on also at the same time. I remember when it came out. I don't know if I was still a teenager or whatever, but I latched on to Voyager way much, and I think it was just a matter of it was just time. So
I have a theory about this, Lamar. I suspect you like Voyager because they were in a ship that went somewhere instead of a place that just stayed there.
That is exactly what it is. And being what year was Deep Space Nine? Just so I can give you a perfect reference. Is it have to
94 to 99?
1993.
Yeah.
93. So 93, 94, perfect. I was still in high school to 95. And I think the politics of it, me not understanding really the politics of what was going on in this single space station, it turned me off. It seemed boring. I like Avery Brooks. I really do. I was actually surprised at first that he wasn't in this episode until I realized he retired from acting to do teaching. I'd like to read that. So I'm like, okay, that's why he wasn't here, because I would love to see him. Maybe his son as well.
Also, not to spoil the finale of Deep Space Nine, which you haven't seen, but there's another reason involving the plot why he's not there, and it's not because he's dead.
Okay, well, don't tell me that then.
It's because he's alive.
Lamar, if it makes you feel better, there is a time that Deep Space Nine got quite good, and you'll never guess what they did to fix the show. They got a ship that goes places.
I think I've heard about that time, and because it was that season, maybe 7, 8, probably. No, 7 is how far
it was around the time that Worf showed up, and they started going on more expansive adventures.
Yeah, it was season 4 or 5. I can't remember exactly, but it was
I watched a few episodes with Worf. Yeah, so you notice if they had to bring somebody in from another popular series, that means we need a reboot, guys. This is not working. So that's my history with DS9.
I think that these are all fair. I love Deep Space Nine more now than I did when it was on the air. When it was on the air, my criticisms were more like Brian's and Lamar's, where it was like, oh, it's just kind of political and they don't go anywhere. Even when they get the ship, they don't really go that far in the ship. And I liked Voyager more at the time for exactly the same reasons. It's like, ooh, adventures, new things every week. That said, I have more of an appreciation for the kind of stories they were telling on Deep Space Nine. They were telling outsider stories in a way that no one has done until Lower Decks. Deep Space Nine was the ultimate, like, here are the outcasts of the universe. They didn't even let Sisko be a captain when he first ran Deep Space Nine. They're like, nah, Deep Space Nine, who cares? Just let a commander run it. It was always about people who were left out of the system more so than any other Star Trek until now. And I feel like
really
there was a kind of a special parallel for me in realizing that and rewatching Deep Space Nine and then seeing Lower Decks go there and fit into that. That said, you know what? You're not wrong, Bryce, that the Mariner story was kind of the most disappointing of this. And Mariner is usually my favorite story of the week.
And it felt like a cop out for the answer to that story to be, you should have just been yourself.
To shoot all my friends.
Yeah.
And see, and Merida's normally the head of what's going on, but I think in this sense, DS9 has such a aura, such a respect, and they had to give attention to those people, to Quark and that storyline, where they just didn't have time to. I mean, I guess they could have brought Mariner into that into that. But
I
like,
get what you're saying.
I
Like, it's a half-hour
think
show.
that's why it was weaker. Yeah.
Well, there's almost too many plots.
Yeah, because there's also a D
There's
plot
3.
with
Is there D?
Boimler gambling and winning.
Playing
yeah.
Dabo and winning Dabo.
Oh yeah.
That's
A story
deep or
that-
dumb.
That
It
has
doesn't pay
no
off.
beginning or end. Yeah, it has
Yeah.
no payoff. Oh, and I don't even use money.
we don't use money
Come
yet.
on! Wow. Thanks, Boimler. Very bold.
Yeah.
I forgot about
all
the D
that
plot.
story did was let us make a joke at Quark's expense that was probably not funny to Bryce at all, and it was only like funny on paper to me. Like, oh yeah, okay, because he took all the money and he doesn't even care. Okay, but I guess it furthers the bold Boimler thing, which is going to pay off in another episode. I'm
I
sure.
don't know that it really forwarded it very much.
Well,
In
it
fact,
kept it on simmer. You're right. Forwarded is
Yeah,
too
it's-
strong.
well,
of a word.
although there was kind of advancement on the fact that at the Goop party, everybody was asking about Boimler because they thought he was hot and sexy as a bald guy or whatever.
He's got that purple hair, dog.
Yeah. Oh,
I guess
right,
I'm
yeah.
alone in that. Okay.
Yeah.
You are alone. I will add real quick. The only other show that I tolerated, I didn't even tolerate, I really loved it. That was stationary one place was Babylon 5 because I'm really into sci-fi. So, but
Well, and a lot
that
of
one
people-
was okay.
Criticize Deep Space Nine as being a pale imitation of Babylon 5 because
That's how I
at the same
felt.
time.
That's literally how. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I that's what it was. It was around the same time, right? So I latched on to only one of them, and I latched on to Babylon 5. Watched all the movies. So that's what it was.
Any other thoughts on Lower Decks?
No, the series has enough credit. I think we're mostly we're on board, but
I
I
certainly
will
enjoyed
admit,
the
Bryce, that if you're gonna ding one this season, this is an okay one to ding.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly enjoyed the Deep Space Nine nostalgia trip, and I'm willing to let them cash one of those checks because they built up so much credit, even if it didn't have the best stories.
Yep.
Let's talk about Rick and Morty, season 6, episode 5, Final
Oh, man.
Desmithation, where there's a fortune cookie company that is making fortunes that have to come true if you eat the fortune cookie, and Jerry gets one that he's going to sleep with his mom.
This episode, like, I just sat in awe of. I have never seen this show more comfortable in its own skin than at this point. Like, it's not, crapping on its own subplots or calling them out of embarrassment or whatever, but instead embracing them. It's mostly a self-contained episode. It's racy, but like Rick, without explanation, without backpedaling, just has all these badass nano everythings. They do just a little bit of self-aware. That's a Sailor Moon transformation thing. That'll save us money later on. And then that joke pays off later on. It's just a little bit like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable with what they're setting up between Jerry and his mother. But it doesn't go all the way. There's just enough amount of heart with thank you, a friend, and then a callback of like, you'll never make another friend and all that stuff. This, like, I've never been prouder of Rick and Morty than at this moment, because they are batting 1,000 this season. And I thought this was a very good episode.
Yeah, I thought, because I have the advantage of from last night till early this morning of catching up, watching the sixth season, because I didn't have Hulu Live until recently. So watching them back to back, I'm seeing this progression. I'm like, wait, how these are getting better every episode, and this one has so many callbacks. I love the Thundercats moment, like that.
Give me
Yeah,
suits
I was
beyond
like, yes.
suits.
Yeah, I was like, yes, Thundercats. I know that. I think one of the most laugh out loud moments I had, and maybe just because of my humor, when Jerry stepped outside and he was dressed as Morty, and he said he was dressed like this, so if he has to have sex with his mom, it'll be
Morty's mom.
I cried.
He's trying to appease the evil genie.
Yeah, I'm like, Jerry is smart. That was a smart move to do that, and I paused it. I had to pause it and laugh. Like that was just perfect Jerry. Oh man,
Tom, how did this land for you?
I mean, Night Family was better, but this was really good. I enjoyed it. It had some great moments. I really, really thought it was funny when they were eating the fortune cookies in battle, and they went for the blanks. And you just started to see like random crazy effects. This was fun, and I'm very glad that Jerry avoided his fate. For Jerry's sake.
Night Family is a freaking masterpiece. Bryce, how did this one land with you?
Oh my God, this was such a good episode.
Right?
Oh my God, it's such a good episode. Like, every time Rick and Morty is not on, I'm just asking, where's Rick and Morty? Because all of the discourse is totally worthless. It's just one sauce and serialized. Like, it's really good animation. It's really good sci-fi compared to Lower Decks. General, just not a spoiler, but there were too many stories in this week's episode. This is one story. There's not a B plot, I believe, and it's great. I mean,
there's sort of a B. Jerry is a plot ancillary to the rest of the plot, but it weaves right in. So yeah, it's not exactly a B plot, is it?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And also, it's just enough of a breaking of a pattern where it's like, if there's one thing in the story Bible, it's been that Rick will never respect anything about Jerry Smith. And then they put a dent in that, and they did it in a way that I thought was earned and justified, and I liked it.
Mm-hmm. Another seriously funny moment to me that I was like, oh my God, when Jerry said, we're friends, and he's like, no, I was immortal before this. I was immortal. You just ruined my immortality. Because it called back to my memory when he grabbed Jerry and threw him in front of him as a bullet shield, right? Because Jerry couldn't die until he had
you just think Rick is being a jerk at that point, but you're like, oh wait, no, that was a good move. Yeah.
It's humor like that and little attention to details that I think this is the smartest. I'd call it comedy on TV. Like, I'm not sure what genre they put this in. I definitely put it in
satire, comedy.
Satire.
Yeah.
30 minutes probably get called a comedy in the halls of Oscar.
Yeah. I think it's the smartest show on TV. I really do. It's brilliant.
It's great.
And Night. I wish I was here last week. I wish I was here last week because I just watched that this morning, and I can't tell you just how good that episode was.
Oh my God, yeah.
The mind of Dan Harmon. No, actually, no, it wasn't Dan. It was the other guy.
Rob Schraub. Yeah, Rob Schraub wrote this one. Yeah.
He wrote that, and that's like, oh my God.
The thing that both those episodes, Night Family and Final Desmithation, have are the interlocking nature of what should by all rights be a throwaway story, right? And they do those little things of like hold up Jerry as a shield, which they could have just been like, yep, that's Rick, he does that, and the bullets missed him because the bullets missed him, and they're like, no, he did that on purpose because he knew, and the bullets missed him because the fate was secured. And that's just one little example of it. Like, it's so thought through, and yet doesn't feel thought through, right? It feels like a madcap adventure, which it should.
And the details are good too. In that scene where he's got Jerry as a human shield, you see all of the bullets shoot around Jerry's profile very specifically. And when I was watching that, I was like, oh, is it a fake security? Maybe they're not really after. Maybe this is a stormtrooper sort of thing. But yeah, it's great and it's smart and it's really detailed.
Yeah. This is the best of Rick and Morty that I remember. I think season 4 was a great one too, but I think like this one,
it's been a strong season,
top tier. Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts on Rick and Morty season 6 episode 5?
Nope.
Make it 20 episodes. All right.
That's Rick and Morty season 6 episode 5. Let's talk about She-Hulk season 1 episode 7. I hate being right. I hate being right about her love interest, but the rest of this episode was super fun in my experience. It's the retreat. She goes up to Blonsky's farm to find out what's up, and turns out she can't get any cell service, so she can't get the text message from her guy, Josh. Was it Josh? That's his name, right? Josh. Yeah. And then she makes a real breakthrough in group.
I loved how obvious they made it that all the bad guys were going to jump on her as soon as she turned into Jen.
Yep.
And then, in case it wasn't obvious enough, they made sure to have dialogue saying, you should turn into Jen. And then you thought, now it's going to happen. And then instead they celebrate her and she does a sweat lodge and has a breakthrough. And it turns out all the bad guys are good guys. And I'll admit it, man, I got fooled. I was convinced, like they laid it on so thick that I could no longer believe that it was going to be anything except for they're going to jab her with the needle, considering that they set up the needle the previous episode or two ago. And instead,
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's like well played, Marvel. I enjoyed it very much.
This is where early in the show when I was like, they're easing in mutants. This is the part I was talking to this show because they're from the Porcupine Man to
the guy who's nervous about being confused for a matador.
Yeah,
because he's in a codependent relationship with Bull Man.
I love that.
Man Bull.
Yeah, but I forgot which exact ones were mutants in the comics, but like this is what I mean. Like these people have been here. Marvel is doing something very specific. That's why people who jump on the show and hate on it and say, oh, it's just a comedy, it's just this. They're not realizing what Marvel is weaving in here. This show, to me, is specifically set up to normalize the idea of mutants or different people. We have Immortal Man the week before, was that?
Yeah,
or
that's
the week
right.
Before that? Yeah, another mutant.
Mr. Immortal,
Yeah, Mr. Immortal. So like they're setting up the idea in this show. That's why this show is important. This is not a throwaway show. It's some this everyday life of a lawyer who even the weekly cases, like these are potential mutants or just people we have not heard of that are just everyday weird people with powers, and that's normalized and okay in this society. So I that's just why I like She-Hulk. I know some others don't give it a pass, but I do.
Superstar of the episode for me is Tim Roth just chewing up every scene he's in. Just comfortable as can be, laying down groundwork and rules and boundaries and borders and helping people actualize and all that stuff. Tom, how did this one land for you?
Oh, he's a benevolent cult leader, right? And you believe that, like, yeah, Blonsky would be good at manipulating people like this. And also, they've done enough in this series to convince me that Blonsky wouldn't necessarily do it entirely for bad. But I'm also wondering if maybe there is something bad that he's going to do with this at some point, but it's not going to be now. I think he really does want to help this cast of misfits. And yeah, I'll be honest, even if it weren't laying the groundwork for mutants, I wouldn't care. These are great stories. They're super fun. There was a lot of, very poignant observations about relationships and codependency told in a super fun way with people that were enjoyable to listen to. If She-Hulk were the only part of the MCU and there was nothing else, I'd enjoy it. It's great.
You know what's wild is, and this is part of the reason that I think that they're going to stick with Tim Roth, like being unwilling to be the Abomination again, is because like if you're going to be a supervillain, to what end would you be a supervillain? Because it looks to me like Tim Roth has everything that you would bother to rob a bank to get or destroy a bad guy. Like he has.
They tried to set us up with
seven wives.
His ankle thing is malfunctioning, and you're like, oh, so he's like breaking free. And then when you show up and he's like, yeah, I guess it's just broken. I don't know. I didn't leave. Like, oh yeah, good point. Why would he? He's got everything he needs.
Sorry, Bryce, are you still on board for She-Hulk?
This is good. This is a good job. And like, yes. I dig it. It's great. We're dealing with like, what I really, really like is something that they set up in the first episode, which I didn't really like very much, was that Jen does not have the same Hulk problem that Bruce Banner has. There's not two discrete identities, two discrete personalities. Jen. There are two identities, I guess, but there's not two personalities. And in this episode and in last episode, when she was talking in the third person about She-Hulk, you kind of know actually she does have some identity issues they're different. It's not
They're
the
more
Dr. Jekyll
subtle
and Mr. Hyde. Yeah. But it's cool, and I like that they're touching on it. I last week I was wrong about the boyfriend. I really wanted that to just be a cool thing, but
I knew it wasn't. I knew it was too good to be true.
But
I knew he was bad.
I feel confident, Tom, in what you said in Tom Merritt's statement that Blonsky's going to stay a good guy. I think he ends up being like a red herring of like who's gonna
forever.
Yeah,
quite possibly
we're
maybe shows
be
up
wondering when he's going to turn bad again, and he never does.
He never does.
To be honest, if I'm at this point, if I'm going to place a bet, if we ever see him as Abomination, it will be as a surprise assist in a team up against bad guys
with She-Hulk or something. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Also,
I
no
got
costume.
A couple.
Still no costume. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you got, Lamar?
A couple quick things. No, the twist at the end, there's still an open-ended question whether he actually got the DNA. And let's just say if you go by the theory of the Hawks, the second a needle would prick anywhere, would her Hawkness would protect her, and she would instantly wake up out of it. So did he really get it? We didn't see it happen.
Well, he definitely claimed via emoji that he extracted DNA.
Well, and we saw previously that they were like, oh, the needle didn't work before. Okay, now we've developed a needle that will work. But you're right. We didn't see I almost said the act of penetration, which we definitely didn't see.
I'm glad we didn't see that one either. Yeah.
We didn't see him get the blood sample. All we saw was him like do a quick copy of her phone records or possibly implant something on her phone. It was unclear.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which made it the fact that she had no reception at Blonsky's tied in there. I was like, oh, so if he did have a tracker on her or was trying to spy and record her conversations or something, he wouldn't get anything the entire time she was at Blonsky's.
Oh, that's wild. So maybe the deletion of his phone number and maybe saved her from like threw a wrench into the plans of the bad guys. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. The only other thing real quick that Bryce touched on it, Jen being able to feel like someone finally cares about her as Jen, that kind of that was that emotional moment kind of hit me. Like she has to struggle with everybody loves the She-Hulk, but what about little old me? And finally she had somebody to care about. I don't know why they got to me. It just is one of those emotional moments. I'm like, wow, I feel that. I mean, I know why. I just don't want to tell you the story.
I think anybody who's been loved for a thing they do or a team they're a part of or anything has a little bit of that, like, yeah, but what about the real me, right? You love Brian Brushwood because he does magic tricks, but what about the real Brian?
I don't believe that for a second. Lamar, you love me because I'm me, right?
Sure.
Oh dear. Oh, what a withering response.
But Tom actually said it. So I'll just say, for me, single guy, it's really hard for me to date. It's really hard to date because my mind is like, do you like Lamar the me or do you like Lamar the brand and what I represent? And because of that, I get stifled. So that's where I felt. I know I'm not trying to find connections, but that's why it hit me is, because I'm always thinking, what's the motive here?
Is it the
or do
person
you
or the
actually
persona?
like me? Or do you actually like me? Yeah. So that's why it was a little emotional. Now not everybody knows my secrets. Okay.
Turns out he's human as well.
I think a lot of people have a version of that, right? Where you're like, well, wait, why do you like me? Is it because you want something out of me? And what is it? Or do you really like the real me? And I think that's almost universal.
Yeah. No. I'm open for dating. That's what I'm saying.
Cordkillers@gmail.com. If you like the real Lamar, let us know.
We've got his digits.
Anything else on She-Hulk?
No, I will acknowledge.
Great episode.
It's just a heroine version of Ally McBeal, and I'm here for it.
Okay. So, folks, there you go. It's a smack She-Hulk. Enjoy the ride. It's She-Hulk Season 1, Episode 7. And that's it for Spoilerin Time this week. Thank you, Lamar Wilson, as always, for being with us, my friend. Remind folks where they can find more of what you do.
Yeah, you can find me. I do short form content on any platform that you're on. So Lamar.tv will take you all different places. I post the same videos everywhere. So follow me where you're the most comfortable. Lots of tech, lots of gaming, lots of pop culture, lots of me. Just me.
And if you like the real Lamar, cordkillers@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody, for supporting us at patreon.com/cordkillers. Of course, you get these episodes early if you're a patron, but you also get After Talk, where the real secrets come out about what we do and how we do the show and why we think the things that we think. So don't miss out. Go sign up, patreon.com/cordkillers. We'll spoil you next time.
Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.